Alright, before the next mission starts, let's hear the backstory of why our character got the tattoo.
Use the breathing techniques I taught you. They will ease the pain. Let me tell you the story of the ink and of the champions.
It's a magical tattoo, specifically.
Of course.
Before the restoration.
Shouldn't he know this already, given that he got the tattoo?
Well, as you know.
Actually, thankfully didn't use that.
I think it's more so he just got it now, I think. Okay.
It's the first mark.
And you will gain great and strange powers. But those powers will drag you into madness. That is why every champion vows to end his own life before he destroys himself. And
But wait, isn't killing himself destroying himself?
To protect everyone else, the needs of a man, you know.
Quickly. Count Karajan is the head of Hessian.
So
I don't think was really their best.
Our main villain here is this guy called Count Karajan, because subtle to be damned, which supposedly was responsible for the attack at our clan. So we need to start dismantling his operation.
Well, this really is Drake of the 99 Dragons.
Well, sometimes subtlety can be a bad thing too. So.
Yes, Pedro.
Also, did I just see the Mortal Kombat logo on the loading screen?
No.
So basically, our protagonist is more or less doomed from the get-go the minute he took on that tattoo.
Basically, it's an actual sacrifice for the clan. The later parts will actually also talk about you know, how you know, it's important, but it's also respected as a decision. Anyway, this introduces, of course, laser traps, which you can disable if you can find the corresponding, you know, fuse box.
Well, it's a stealth game, so lasers tend to be a given.
Oh, but these, mind you, these are not. Some of these lasers are ones that are supposed to trigger the alarm, like this one. You know, that giant circle in the background, that basically spawns a turret, you know, that shoots you if you actually get detected. But the lasers in the vent that we before, they don't even give you the courtesy of being detected. They just disintegrate you on the spot.
Oh, beautiful.
So this is a game again where your health bar is present, technically those you know, those diamonds that you have under your portrait, but they might as well, you know, be just there for decoration because you die very easily, especially in harder modes.
I've noticed that, surprisingly, hiding behind a pot somehow shields you from the laser's gaze.
That's because you remember, perspective, like I said in the foreshortening, like I said in the first part. Your character technically puts himself, you know, on the foreground, you know, beyond that, but he cannot step too much on the same, you know, in the same direction. So he thankfully is shielded in that specific case.
I guess I would have thought that the laser's like room width, given the implication going off of it, but I guess not.
Again, it's because it's running on the you know, 2D perspective rather than having a 3D environment.
Like, now, obviously, game-wise, this is to make it fair. But in reality, you would probably expect somebody to get more efficient security lasers, but to be fair, it's a video game. This is the kind of stuff I'm willing to give some leeway to.
As mentioned also by your companion, the guards, you know, have triggers on them that manage to disable the alarms as soon as they come in contact with. So it's a good thing to get, is to actually kill them and drag their corpse towards them in order to actually deactivate them. Yes, Pedro?
I really do like I forgot the cutscenes and the gameplay. The game consistently retains the mid-2000s cartoon look.
I mentioned Batman the Animated Series, but I can see also influence from, of course, Samurai Jack and Jackie Chan's Adventure, I think it's called.
Jackie Chan Adventures.
Yeah, Jackie Chan Adventures. That was actually the one I was thinking of first, but the Batman also does apply, too.
Again, it's one of the... again, I always appreciate these games that use this art style because it's the one major strength 2D games have over 3D games.
It seems to be relatively consistent for this team. I don't know if you have ever played Don't Starve, but that one also has that kind of thing going on. I don't remember if Oxygen Not Included has that art style or not, but I haven't checked in a long time.
Like, and I get why, sadly, not many game teams do this, because it's not as easy as one would think.
Otherwise, everyone will do it.
Yeah. So, kudos to the teams that do go above and
there you
beyond
go.
to do this.
Like I said, I mentioned in the first part, but the challenges might appear threatening at first, but even with the simple planning and discovering the layout, you can easily complete them. And the checkpoint system is fairly generous. If you reload a checkpoint after a fail, it will not count potentially as the challenge being failed forever. So you can if you plan carefully, you can try again and again until you get it right.
I'm playing through the Plucky Squire right now, and that game looks gorgeous, absolutely.
Which is
gorgeous.
also why it took so long to actually be done.
All right, that game also has a 2D art style as well.
Well,
It actually has both. Whenever you're inside the book, you're in 2D, hand-drawn. It literally looks like you're watching a British cartoon, right?
Yeah, I recall. Basically, the idea was like you would go through two different art styles.
But then you leave the book into the real world, and that's when you go 3D.
I will say, one, I gotta give the bad guy credit. They did install lethal lasers into the vent areas, so that's some plus one stuff.
Alright,
But yeah,
you
no,
get a noisemaker. This is where you start getting your proper tools for the job. So this is called a defense tool. This is not enough to damage an enemy, but it's basically the stone from the bottle from The Last of Us. It generates noise and will attract an enemy towards that direction. It's as simple as that. And thankfully, you get to visualize what the range of a noise will be. Meaning that you can plan carefully to distract maybe just one guard instead of two at the same time.
Okay.
They certainly came up with a lot of kill animations, I can see.
Oh,
you
can also unlock more in the with the upgrade system, which I will showcase in the next couple of parts. The game incentivizes you to complete these challenges because, like I said in the first part, you're with tokens that you can spend through this upgrade system, and a lot of them involve you taking advantage of the environment to perform different kills. For example, you can with this upgrade, you can perform a kill while dangling from a surface above, while normally you cannot, or while you're inside, for example, a door, or behind one of the doors that you can open, the wooden doors. Again, they get unlocked, giving you the possibility to get unlocked progressively as the game goes on, so you cannot actually, exploit the game to get everything right now. But the game also has a new Game Plus system, and you can replay the levels every time you want anyway, so you can experiment potentially with everything you get eventually after you get the stuff.
Can we expect that you'll be showing every single potential killing
animation?
Oh,
don't worry,
in this
yes.
playthrough?
Mostly because, you kind of have to. Later levels, have to... Oh, someone's playing Helldivers too. Later levels basically incentivize you to actually purchase these skills in order to have an easier time. Remember, every level is studied so that you can potentially still, perform the ghost, as in, not get detected and don't kill a single person. Anyway, starting with this level, we'll start to get these challenge rooms. Essentially, your character, remember, as explained by the narration, our magical tattoo has the little problem of giving us hallucination, and this gets translated into having these challenge rooms, which rewards us with one of the, clan scrolls, the one that tells us the lore about, our clan. So it's an excuse also for the developer to create a room that, tests you with the rules that you learn in the level so far, in this case, the laser trap.
I'm guessing our Mark of the Ninja also is what gives our protagonist the abilities to have heightened senses for the gameplay.
Our partner explained this in the first level, yes.
Just one thing, though. Ninjas are meant to be, completely undetected, leaving a mark behind. That kind of goes against them.
Remember, Dweebs, the mark is the tattoo that our protagonist is having, not something that he leaves behind.
So what you're saying is you never learn to look up your surroundings.
And honestly, Dweebs, like I said a couple of times...
Mind your surroundings, that's it, sorry.
And honestly, Dweebs, as I said in the first part, the entire reason this game was made was that games with ninjas, until this point, were focusing, almost exclusively on combat, which again, in itself is not a problem, but I get the idea of the mentality that the makers of this had. And the ninjas tend to have, outfit that, while cool looking, were, not even trying to actually, take approach of the disguise factor. Most notably, Strider Hiryu with his scarf, Hotsuma from Shinobi 2002 with his own scarf, Joe Musashi from the original Shinobi with his white outfit, Ryu...
Oh, the one from
Sorry,
the one from Shinobi. The one from Shinobi X has a super bright outfit.
Well, that's the same guy that believes, I think, John Musashi.
No, that's a different guy.
Oh, that's a different, okay. And, okay, Ryo Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden fares a bit better because his outfit, is properly dark-colored. Well, okay, in the NES games, he's more bright purple, but, it's more dark-colored, but he still, relies most exclusively on combat more than stealth. So at the very least, he has a bit better going for.
And greatest master, Tetsuji.
I tremble before Tetsuji.
And yeah, this is also an excuse to get some haikus with this.
Clan Isomu.
Yeah, I was a bit shaky when I came across him, and that was it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's the story, everybody. I just got a little nervous seeing a ninja.
Later down the line, one of the powers that will get automatically unlocked without you having to use having a cost for it would be a sort of an equivalent to the detective vision from the Batman Arkham games, but it would be done more gracefully so you cannot exploit it all the time. You'll be able to say.
Honestly, I kind of, I kind of considered a lot of what we're getting sort of already equivalent to the detective.
Well,
vision,
yes and no. Remember, that one, I got 25 stealth kills achievement, but that's the thing, Jova. With this particular power, we're going to getting a couple of parts. You'll be able to see what normally human eye cannot see, as in the circuits that lead from a device to their respective, fuse box, giving you a general idea where you're supposed to go to neutralize them, while normally you can't.
Miss, you have a knack of showing up right as soon as we clear an area.
Basically,
maybe a little help.
Actually, that's the thing. She gets alternate routes in order to get around the same time.
Oh, okay. So the implication is that she's dropped in from another one.
Yes.
Fair enough. It makes sense that they would want to reduce their numbers when they're doing their stealthing.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, she's basically perfectly capable of handling things just as us. Yeah, I could go along, but this guard, just is there alone is guarding a treasure, so let's see if I can pull some tomfoolery.
I wonder if eventually you'll be able to unlock a projectile kill.
Okay, you can with some of your tools. Some of your tools can be upgraded to gain some level of, efficacy, and some items are specifically purposed to be for attack, but you cannot rely exclusively on them. They are limited in quantity specifically for, avoid you of steamrolling through the entire game.
Makes sense, because a lot of these would probably be solved easily if you could just throw a shuriken and have the guy be dead.
That being said, there are different styles, as they're called, which are an excuse to have some alternate costumes as well, which allow you specific perks in order to get through the level. For example, one of them will allow you to carry 2 separate, defense items at the same time, but as a result, you will not be able to perform stealth kills, for example. It's ideal if you want to get undetected. Another, instead, is the opposite. Will let you carry 2 attack items instead, but it will generate more noise as a result, and so on and so forth. The outfits themselves are not that much different, that's why I'm not gonna show them. But again, it's usually the perks that they have what's important for a run. But for the purpose of this story, you're just good to go with, what you're given. And you technically unlock them by completing the specific side objectives of the mission, in this case. For example, in this case, destroy 20 lights. And each of them are represented with a specific, symbol, like a roaring tiger, a dragon, or a carp, for example, and unlocking enough of them unlocks that specific costume.
I see. In regards to all the different killing animations, are any of them functional, or are they mainly just, there to be like,
Okay.
oh, cool different visuals?
Okay, the actual animation when you perform the kill is basically the same. It's basically there just for visual flair. But what really changes is from where you start to perform the kill. So when you actually properly do it, like in this case, it's just there for the sake of not being the same all the time. But if you started from a different position, like say, like I said, from a ledge, for example, it will still be different, but it will be contextualized for that. It would even have a different name,
I see. So essentially, kills do all the same function, but some will give you a wider range of where you can start.
Especially especially because the stealth kill basically insta kills the enemy in one hit. Basically, you can potentially engage the enemy in combat regularly with a set of kicks and punches, but again, it's really not recommended. It's basically a last resort move in case you get caught.
Yes, that's our cue to follow her.
The Raven symbols are there to be your major checkpoints. You get minor ones when you see the dragon symbol appearing occasionally in another corner of the screen, but the one with the Raven represents the major ones.
Hey, what was that noise?
It was just the wind.
Basically. Yeah, again, classic Metal Gear guard logic.
Must have been the wind. Yes, that's definitely the wind, the sound that wind makes.
I'll admit, while it doesn't do stealth as well, those stealth segments in Metal Gear Rising are funny for that.
Yeah, for example, later I can acquire a perk to actually kill an enemy while standing on that pole, but right now I cannot, And don't worry, you'll be able to see. Yeah, another thing that you've seen in the first part, if there is a flock of, birds, watch out, because, if you actually startle them, they will produce a lot of noise, and if there are guards nearby, they might be alerted, so...
Now, in regards to certain kills, are animations, rotated or random? Assuming, let's say you do, a proximity kill, over and over. Will you get, the same animation, or
it
will there be,
cycles between
some
2 or
variation?
3 all the time.
Okay, so I'm guessing basically each range of murder will essentially get, its own set of animations that serve the same purpose.
Yeah,
that's not good for us.
No, well, to be fair, it's it's also the case where, yes, it turns the power on back again, but the lamps can still be destroyed, so it's just a matter of the noise that you make. Although I do like the touch that the more it's getting close to that, the more the music, rises again until, it becomes again this frantic. It's not, there's not a lot of variation in the music, but what there is actually not that bad. Again, it captured the essence.
Gotta love the irony that, honestly, in most games, where you're the hero, the light would be on your side, but this is definitely one of those cases where darkness is your best friend.
I mean,
light's a nuisance.
You can kind of tell that the people who made this game played also the Thief classic games, because, again, that's a prerogative of that, hiding in your shadows, use that in your advantage, and 2 different achievements reference to that, the Deadly Shadows and the Dark Project. Don't worry, Bob. There is also a Metal Gear reference later. You'll be able to see in one of the last couple of parts.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I would honestly be surprised if a stealth game didn't have a Metal Gear reference in this day and age. If I recall correctly, I think even one of the recent Assassin's Creed games had a Metal Gear reference.
I don't remember that. Remember, it was more... Okay, it might have had with 2... No, okay, yes. Since I played them recently, I was mentioning that when we were recording Lost Odyssey. Brotherhood, I think, either Brotherhood or the third of Assassin's Creed 2, has a joke where Ezio has to meet Leonardo da Vinci. Again, context for that, you know. And they pull kind of a trick where they make you think that Leonardo is hiding in the box, the football box, but when you meet him normally, it's like, what? You thought I was going to hide there or something?
I'm not too surprised. Yeah. Because if I feel like out of all the Assassin's Creed games, 2 definitely stocked up the most on references.
Well, I remember it was also around the same time where MGS4 was getting an Altair costume, so you can imagine, you know, there was at least a good neighbor policy between Konami and Ubisoft back then.
It wasn't just Metal Gear Assassin's Creed 2 referenced. Let us not forget Ezio's dear Uncle Mario.
Yes, Mario Vittoria. Although he will get that many years before the game.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing, Dweebs. The way it gets... Also, songs play Fear and Hunger. That's the thing, Dweebs. The context for the story. In universe, the Animus, the system that you know, Michael Fassbender in the movie used to become one of his ancestors, you know, is rigged in a way where it lets you experience the epoch where you live, where your ancestor lived. But because there's so many variables to have, the excuse is that not everything gets translated properly in English, so the characters will have, you know, either an over-exaggerated accent, or occasionally will sprinkle throughout the words of the foreign language they're in. Ezio's uncle literally introduces himself, telling to Ezio, "Don't you recognize me? It's a me, Mario!"
Yeah! Cheeky.
That's Fred Tatasciore voicing him, by the way.
Honestly, it has aged a bit, but I think the Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy might still be my favorite Assassin's
after seeing
Creed
it,
games.
the film that has aged the most, I can tell you, it's Ezio's Pepe Le Pew-esque attitude, because let's just say his attitude towards having lovers is not particularly great. I mean, sometimes it is discussed in universe, you know, as in people are asking, you know, if he's doing possibly a good thing with his partner, but there's a mission in Brotherhood that as you basically stalk, you know, a random woman, and basically you're only passed as the good guy because you save her from getting a rape attempt, but otherwise, you know, it was just, you know, Ezio stalking her because he wanted to, you know, get in the bed with her. Yeesh.
Horn dog. But yeah, aside from Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy, I guess my favorite is probably 4. I'd have liked 3 better if it weren't bogged down in some of the pacing.
I like the story of 3, but the gameplay renovation is what basically bogged it down. You know.
Wow, you actually like the narrative of 3. That's usually a lot of the...
There's a layer of more honesty in Radonageddon, you know, and the idea, the fake out at the beginning of letting you control a Templar instead of an assassin with the fake out is actually a good one. You know, it caught everyone by surprise, you know, not to mention it's incorporated towards, you know, the entire climax for the game, so there is, you know, a pathos to that. It's just that the gameplay doesn't make it as fun as it would be. Also, the DLC what if scenario where Washington becomes evil is garbage. I'm sorry.
yeah, that DLC basically amounts to, oh god, what a terrible dream. We must basically prevent this. Tell Washington this. Okay, bad future prevented.
And that's the thing. That's the story of the past. Of course, there's also the can of worms of it is the present story. You know, the thing that should be the vehicle of the entire franchise. You know, the
Desmond,
the framing device, because 3 is supposed to be the culmination of that. And technically speaking, there is. It's just that future titles basically amounted to say, yeah, in hindsight, it wasn't really that big of a deal.
Basically, Desmond, who's supposed to be the key to everything, just up and dies. The ultimate evil is released only for her to die in the comics, and then 4 just pops up with us basically working at Ubisoft.
There we go.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love Black Flag, but I will say this, Black Flag was definitely the point where it became clear they weren't really giving a hoot about the modern narrative. And I get it. People didn't care much about the modern narrative, but at that point, Assassin's Creed just became an excuse to go history hopping to the point where they could have literally just focused on the past stuff at that point,
There we
but
go.
they still insisted on the past stuff. I'm sorry, the modern stuff being there, despite our main character being dead.
Complex. This way.
And there you go, that's our level done.
It's weird how his hood is tattered enough to make me think that was his hair. At least, before he revealed that he's bald
he's
underneath.
bald. Like you said, he's basically Caillou when you get down to it.
I mean, shoot, he has well, technically not cancer, but that mark is going to force him to have to, unalive himself.
Either succumb to madness, and hallucinations, or having to kill himself. So overall, not great much of a perspective. Anyway,
bit of a bummer.
Anyway, tune in for the next part where, we continue our trekking through Karajan's tower. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.